Good day, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Festival with Dahlia from Bahamas Carnival Guide, the new official host of this series. Don't be alarmed. Our official host, Mixtress Africa Allah, is still here with us in studio, and today we welcome Dante with us today from La Vie All-Inclusive Premium Fete. Hi, Dante.
Hey, Dahlia, how are you? Africa, how are you as well?
Hey, we are back inside the festival. Dahlia is the official host. And of course, today's show is brought to you by Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend. All right?
All right, well, first, Dante, why don't you tell us who you are, tell us about your product, and what brings you here today with us?
My name is Dante. I like long walks on the beach. Just kidding. My name is Dante. I am the events manager with V Promotions, who would do La Vie Premium All-Inclusive through Bahamas Carnival. I am a carnival enthusiast, and I have been attending various carnivals globally, I would say for the better part of maybe 15 years. I think my very first carnival would have been Labor Day in New York in 2008 while visiting friends at university. And since then, that's kind of how my love affair with carnival started. And I have been in and out of the carnival scene all through the Caribbean more or less every year since. I do enjoy carnival from a standpoint. I've been a patron many times. I've been a masquerader many times. But since Bahamas Carnival's inception, I, at one point, was a band owner. I was one of the band owners with Rhythms Bahamas Carnival. And shortly thereafter, we opted to have a premium all-inclusive fete in 2018, where everything more or less started. And from there, the rest, as they say, is history. Year over year, we've grown from strength to strength. And it is something that we enjoy so much, myself and the team that I work along with. And for us, carnival is not a hobby, it is a lifestyle. This is something we build our life around. To our American listeners, I would say when I'm on holiday, I'm at carnival. You know, American listeners say when I'm using my PTO, it's to travel for carnival. In a nutshell, this is something that I love to do. It comes from a place of genuine passion. When I'm not at carnival, across the last 21 years, I'm a hotelier by profession. So I've been in the service industry and I understand what it is to give service. I understand what masqueraders and carnivalians expect. And I'm always there to give a premium experience.
Amazing. Thank you and welcome, Dante. I always love to hear everybody's sort of origin story and how they were introduced to carnival, because I think that's something we can all bond over, you know, and whether it's been 1 year or 15 like yourself, it's a fascinating story and a fascinating journey to get us to where we are now.
I find it fascinating that Brooklyn turned you out.
Bear in mind, Brooklyn is the unofficial city. Well, oddly enough, you would hear us making fun of it. The country of Brooklyn is shouted out so much at Carnival because the melting pot there is. What I've realized is the rest of the Caribbean, not the Bahamas, they move when they relocate to New York.
Right.
Bahamians in general tend not to relocate. Most of us stay home and live home. But if we do relocate, we relocate to Florida. Very rarely, we're not going to go somewhere where they maintain a high temperature of 10 degrees. That's not for us. So, you know, the country of Brooklyn, that is the biggest melting pot of probably people from the Caribbean, because I hate the term Caribbean, so that's not a thing. The biggest melting pot of people from the Caribbean, outside of probably London, more than likely would be that whole city of New York.
Yeah, definitely. But for you to have burst your carnival cherry in New York, which I think is like, it's the worst of all. And this is just my personal opinion. I lived on the Parkway for about 7 years, and I didn't even budge to go outside unless it was something happening downstairs in my building. Like I could look out my window or sit on my fire escape and watch the parade. But I never really enjoyed the carnival experience in the city, because there's not just people playing with you. It's just rough in New York, regardless of what. It always ends up into something. You know what I mean?
Bear in mind, Africa, ignorance is bliss. So it was first experience, and it was,
Exactly.
I to say that I would go back now, no. But oddly enough, then it was safer. It was 100% a vibe. I hear the horror stories now, and I'm mortified because I know how good the Parkway was to me, the events, everything leading up. You spend a lot of time in New York, so places like Webster's Hall, that was for the culture and that kind of thing that no longer exists. It's odd hearing it now because that was nigh on 20 years ago. So hearing it now is like, it's a bit disappointing that it's not the vibe that it was. But having that first experience and the best non-Caribbean carnival you'll ever attend is going to always be Miami. And that was where I went to thereafter. And at that point, Carnival in Miami, we still had road. We would play
Right.
mass then on the freeway. It was the most amazing thing. It was like I'm in the middle of a major metropolitan city and I'm playing mass. That kind of breakout experience thereafter. After that, I was like, listen, I'm booking, I'm going wherever, whatever it is, I'm down for that. That's really, the rest is more or less how it is. Now, 2 or 3 times a year, I'm in one of the other small islands.
The power of carnival, because like you said, ignorance is bliss, so you didn't know any better, but it was the experience that then, caused you to explore different carnivals and lead you to where you are today. Because my first carnival experience was Toronto, and that's, I don't think any better than Brooklyn.
Well, no,
I
no,
don't go
no.
there now.
Toronto was definitely. I think Toronto was the first time that I ever experienced carnival by myself. Keep in mind, I grew up in New York City, right? I was raised in Harlem and lived in Brooklyn. So for me, my first experience with carnival was, I think I was about 7 or 8, because my mother went down to Brooklyn every Labor Day, but I didn't understand that we were Caribbean. I just was embarrassed of this woman just dancing everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, mom. Um, but she had us out there. We were drinking coconut water and she just was introducing us to this thing. And until recently, I didn't even realize the songs that I sang were soca songs or calypso songs because I was raised listening to it. You know what I mean? It was just music to me.
Yeah.
Um, the first time that I went to carnival by myself or caravana, I was like 13, and we went every year up until I left Canada. And we had a big crew of people that went out there. We were mischievous, so I don't even talk about what we did, but um, it was just the enjoyment and excitement and all of the things that we could get into at that time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
carnival has always been a vibe. It's always been freedom. It's just this amazing thing. And like you said, ignorance is bliss. Because now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have taken advantage of all of those opportunities that I had back then.
I mean, I was introduced to soca in university because I went to school with a bunch of people from Trinidad, and one Bahamian, Guion. We talked to him last week, and the two of us really experienced soca, and we got a little taste, right, of this other side of the Caribbean, not really carnival, but just soca music and Trinis. And then from there, he started going to carnivals. I came home from being abroad and I said, okay, sign me up. When do we start? And we went to Toronto Caravana in 2012. And then, much like Dante, the rest is history. Can't keep me away from carnival now.
I do have a question for you, Dante. What are some of the challenges that you face as a person that works in hospitality and a person that produces a premium all inclusive?
What you're gonna always find, producing anything in the Bahamas is always going to be very, very expensive. For anyone that is not familiar, the Bahamas is listed as probably the sixth or seventh most expensive place in the world to operate because everything is imported. It's not an island nation with favorable exchange rate. $1 is $1, as in a Bahamian dollar is a US dollar. So production cost, production value, those things are very expensive. And that is an ongoing challenge that is something you're going to find with putting together. And the carnival culture in the Bahamas is still in its infancy. So understanding where Dahlia's done it, you've done it, Africa, I've done it, where I've traveled and paid $200 for a fete, and this is just more or less expectation. And if you go by the exchange rate, for instance, in Jamaica, that's something like nigh on $26,000. But they pay it to go to this party, and it's the most amazing party you would go to. There's food vendors from all around the world. There are live performances. Is it worth the money? 100%. But getting a culture of, I would spend $110 on dinner for one steak, but I'm not going to spend $110 on an all-inclusive party. Trying to break that culture in and of itself is a bit problematic. We've made some headway because we've been able to provide amazing experiences. And shameless plug for Africa, the video footage that's captured by her team does a great job of selling it thereafter. But that is one of the biggest challenges that we do have. Another huge challenge in the Bahamas is we are proper island nation. Everything is ninth hour. Getting people to buy tickets in advance is like pulling teeth. And oddly enough, we kind of have the same issue with operating the Juve. We have the same issue with the Carnival mass bands. I don't think they get the concept of, hey, if you need a brassiere that's a size 40G, we're not going to make that usually. So buying a costume the week before, I don't have a brassiere that size. So, I think, and trying to break that culture is just something that's problematic. And it's not like we're being difficult, maybe, hey, I didn't have the money, I have the money now, so I could pay now, but it's just, in some instances, it just doesn't work. And trying to explain to someone who has absolutely no idea how carnival works or what the story is, and say, I really can't give you anything because I don't have it, but they see other costumes line up there, it could be problematic. Or you're sitting with a Juve and you're saying, listen, you're trying to pay the day of, it's supposed to come with this package. I have no shirts left. I have no bottles left. I have no bags left. If you want to go with us, I'm going to give you a wristband. Don't wear your Sunday best. I'll give you a cup. And trying to explain that to someone who's new to it is going to always be a challenge. But it's our job with this kind of program, with Inside the Festival, with our marketing, with any of the broadcasting we do for Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, to make sure that this is edutainment in the best possible way. Because some people don't understand. So posting frequently asked questions, posting how and why we do it. Even beautifully posting the origin story, which was a great article on Bahamas Carnival Guide about the origin story, about why we do what it is that we do. We have to continue in this vein to get this product to grow. Being a hospitality professional, I know the airlift in the Bahamas, the opportunities for accommodation in every shape, size, and form. The easiest place to drive in the Caribbean is Nassau. Everything is on Google Maps, everything is laid out, and you can get a rental car for $45, $50 a day. We are set up in an amazing way to have the best carnival in the world, based on the way things are laid out. You don't have to drive up and down a mountain to get to a fete. We just have to make sure when we capitalize, we do everything properly.
I'm sold. Where do I buy a ticket? But you're right, Dante. It has been a challenge to change, and like you said, edutainment, is that what you called it? To change this culture of lateness, of waiting till the last minute, of seeing, even if it's going to rain, right? Because I find that in the Bahamas, if it's raining, people don't leave their house. And I always ask if you're all made of sugar because you're going to melt from the rain.
I have, my grandmother is actually English, and she would say, if we stopped all production when it rained in England, we would have nothing. because it rained every day. So I mean I get it, and it's breaking cultural norms is never easy. And because it is new, and I know Africa, I have, oddly enough, I'm not going to expose Africa's age, but from when I was a teenager, Africa has been doing this. You'd hear me refer to her um, as a term of endearment as the driver of the Junkanoo Jitney. Many, many years ago, Africa had a program called Teen Scene. She was very famous. She was on ZNS Network. And the Junkanoo Jitney was her version of the Soul Train line. So she has been doing this and trying to get these things in place from then. And I appreciate the resiliency and everything that she does. And as we build, we need the partnering of people like Africa to hand the reins to someone like me, for me to hand the reins to someone even younger than I am, for us to continue in this way. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. What we have to teach, but people have to be willing to learn.
That part. That part right there. People have to be willing to learn. And I constantly say it, and I've said it many of times in the collective, that marketing is psychology. You have to train people how you want them to behave and what your expectations are. And the simple thing as putting a video of you purchasing dinner at a restaurant in the local area, and then a video of food side by side. There's food from the all-inclusive side by side, and saying this is the price point for this and this is the price point for this, and you get all of this. I think that's what we need to do, like visually train our audience as to what they're getting. Because this past week we did, or last week I should say at this point, we did Miami Music Week, and I had no idea that that's what we were doing. We just get hired to bring in the sound and stuff like that. And we did a load in. We did a load in for Ultra Music Fest, and we did a load in for another EDM rave hosted by some popular producers. And Ultra Music Fest was $756 for the Friday night. Now, we didn't stay at that particular event, right? So I don't know what was included in that. But I know at the other event that was $360, there was nothing included.
Wow.
There was nothing included with that. It was a cashless bar. They had a $40 valet, and you had to purchase your food. There was no couches, no tables, none of that. It was just amazing to see the culture. And at that time I was like, damn, I really wish these were the people we were selling Carnival to, because we would sell out, and we probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't, because our price points are too low.
Well, oddly enough, in conversation too, the creation of a premium problem where things are kind of sold out, that kind of thing. All of these things are aspects of the marketing, aspects of what it is that goes on, because I can tell you the uptick that was seen, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it would have been 2013, 14, Dahlia would have went to Trinidad. And you could not buy a costume for Trinidad by October of the year before, and Trinidad Carnival the following year was February. Everything was sold out. And strangely enough, even now, they've seen a decline. You have people buying costumes now in January. So there has been a lot of pivoting globally, after what we've lived through a few years ago, because I dare not say its name. There's been a lot of pivoting because of these things. There's been a lot of changeovers. There's been a lot of how do we handle this, do this, and present this, and frame it in such a way where everyone does want to do it. I will say this, and I mean this 100%, and I am being completely honest. The best friends that I have, the life-changing experiences I've had, have been around soca and the carnival scene. Like, some of the best trips I've had in my life was us in some Airbnb, all bungled up together in a living room. Like, all of us don't have our own room somewhere else, and we're just reminiscing on the amazing week that we had. And it's just, and two, you have to kind of understand, trying to frame to someone from the outside what an amazing experience it is. They need someone either that has been very interested in the culture or someone to take their hand, because carnival as a habit is expensive.
Hmm.
Flights to the Caribbean, and I guess Dahlia can really speak to this more because Dahlia lives overseas. A flight to the Caribbean, she could very well go to Europe. Am I correct or wrong?
I could go to Europe twice from what I paid to go to Antigua in July.
So it's one of the things where we have to experiences. It's something you never forget. In the words of Maya Angelou, people do not remember what you did for them. People remember how you made them feel.
Thank you.
And the feelings you get in the middle of a fete, and it's 100 degrees, and for some odd reason, at 12 noon at 100 degrees in Trinidad, you decide to put on your favorite pair of shorts and that girl in her favorite romper, and y'all are walking, drinking champagne together, and you would rather be nowhere else. There's no feeling like it in the world.
I always tell people all you need to do is have that one experience and you won't turn back. There's nothing about carnival that is bad, in my humble opinion. And it's just convincing people, and like you said, taking their hand a little bit sometimes to have that, to open up to that first experience. There's nothing like it.
I listen, and I totally agree, and I think that's why too. What you're gonna find here in the Bahamas through Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, we have concierge services that will, from start to finish, like from collecting you to the airport, taking you to your Airbnb, booking all of your fetes, booking your costume, doing all of this for you, because at the end of the day, you are in a foreign country, you know, and in some instances, navigating through certain things is easier in somewhere, for lack of a better term, that is first world. So there are concierge services that need to move to the forefront and assist, but the concierge services must handle things properly. The one that I've worked with here, which is Gombe Concierge, has handled everything properly from its inception. So, I would push any group that's unsure to something along those lines. We have carnivalconcierge.online that can give the same kind of guidance, so can Bahamas Carnival Guide. We have these things in place. It's just knowing is half the battle. Because once you are here, by nature, Bahamians in general are very hospitable people and they will always help you. I believe, Dahlia, you were there when we met those three ladies from Montreal. And we more or less walked them through everything that they needed to do, and they were so happy. I actually ran into one of them last year in Grenada, and she said, "Listen, Dante, if I knew you were here, I'd have played mass with you." This is the friendships and the kind of things you develop from one meeting and one experience together.
I love the Bahamas so much. And I can confirm that once you're in the Bahamas, you're guaranteed to have a good time. I have a coworker here who is probably as far removed from Caribbean culture as you can get. She's from Iraq. She immigrated here with her family 20 years ago, maybe more at this point. And her and her family went to the Bahamas on vacation. And she came back, and ever since then, every time I talk to her, she's like, "When are we going to the Bahamas? When are you taking me back to the Bahamas? I'm leaving my family home this time." And this is a very conservative woman, wears a hijab, so far removed from Caribbean culture and having that experience. And she loved it so much that anytime, if I were to tell her, "Van, we're going to the Bahamas next week," I can guarantee it. She would buy a flight. She would, whatever I said, she would say yes. And that's just one experience. But I know that people going to the Bahamas, people experiencing the Bahamas for the first time, love it. And then add carnival to it, they would be hooked.
Yes, they definitely would be hooked. Now, there are some things in the news, and I love that you touched on the hospitality aspect of Carnival, Dante. Epic Carnival just gave their report of what they did, and again, like you said, the Bahamas is well prepared for tourism. In places like Trinidad and Grenada and other places, they're not so much, right? They focus on whatever their trade things are. but they've never really focused on culture and tourism. Recently, recently there was a tobacco that happened with a young lady that traveled to Trinidad for carnival, and it has dragged out for almost now 3 weeks in regards to culture. Do we gatekeep? What do we do to ensure that this type of thing doesn't happen on your watch? The thing is, we can't control how people behave. We can't control how people behave or react. We only can control the information that we give them and the guidance that we give them, right? We can only consult, we cannot make them do things. But it goes to saying, let's talk about hygiene, amenities, food. Like if you're from a different country and you're not really good on the pepper, or even this. Like I worked the weekend, and we worked approximately 48 hours nonstop, right? After a certain point in the evening, when I saw the bathrooms getting disgusting, I stopped drinking water because I'm not going to go pee in them people place.
But oddly enough, Africa, the practice of common sense, we were all given five senses. None of them are called common. So it's one of those things where the episode of that lady's life that you're speaking of, I can't say that lady because nothing was ladylike about her behavior. But my challenge with that is you're gonna always have these attention seekers who, and it's always such a difficult conversation because in her mind, she's from Trinidad in her mind. And notice how quickly, as she introduced herself, because they had this whole concept of American born Trinidadian, and then the Trinidadians shunned her immediately and said, there's nothing Trinidadian about this woman. She would not do that at home. I don't understand why you want to go in someone else's country and do it. Secondly, Trinidad has the most KFC per capita in the world. She could have buy one piece of chicken and gone inside and used the bathroom. So the nonsense she did is not something that anyone could actually speak to. And I'm 100% sure you're given a masquerader letter in your box. And all of us who've played Mass with Humor before know this. In that box, that tells you where everything is, where the rest stops are, where all of those things are. Everything, the information is there. Reading is fundamental.
She was an ambassador for the group, and
She was?
yeah, she was. She was a brand ambassador, and this is why I say I don't believe in these influence people. I don't.
Well, what she influenced was how to be nasty.
But,
My
that also changes. That also changes because now the brand now that band is taking the backlash for her actions.
But who vetted
Now
her?
go ahead and say your statement because I want to hear what you have to what your
But
input is.
here,
my question from the beginning has been, why would you put that on the internet? Right? You did what you did. I don't understand that, but you're in a situation, you do what you need to do. Okay. What possesses somebody to talk about that and then expect there to be zero backlash in this day and age, in where we see how the internet takes one thing in context, out of context, and runs with it? And then
yeah. Mm-hmm. And the
to come
internet is
back,
forever.
yeah, and then to come back and, apologize and backpedal, try to take it back, and then try to change the story. I didn't actually, but I don't. Some things just need to not be talked about. And that is another lesson to learn, right? Number one, act proper. If you wouldn't do this at home, what makes you think that it is okay to do this here? As a teacher, I say this to my students all the time. I said, at home, would you sit with your feet on the table like that? Absolutely not. Get your feet off my table. And so act proper, but then also don't put things on the internet.
Do you know how that scars a potential participant, somebody that's interested in participating? Like that scars them because now mentally, like I hate humans. Like I do not like large crowds. I work in entertainment, and because I work in entertainment, I usually have the privilege of being by the DJ booth or in secured areas away from the humans, right? And when I go next to the humans, like I mingle with them, but there's always enough space between me and them. And now here you are. These are people that are not protected by that type of cover, right? They have to mingle with these humans. And you mean to tell me there may be one or two shitty bungies inside this thing and I'm dancing with them? Like,
Oddly enough, Africa, it's the discussion about etiquette and basic behavior is maybe something we feel we shouldn't have because should be grown people there. But bear in mind, there was a very unfortunate incident during this same carnival season with that young man being murdered.
right. We
And
talked about that last week.
for my issue with that is, at the end of the day, this is fun, free, some of this we've always been. I have seen husband and wives that play mass in different bands for varying reasons because at the end of the day we are outside.
Right.
You know, I don't, and to get to that point of that kind of behavior, there's a difference. I will never be one, and I will never be one to support the abuse of anyone in any way, shape, or form. There's a difference if a woman is being mistreated and made to feel uncomfortable and someone then intervenes. But that was not what that was. So another huge deal for me is this. It has been amazing experiences all around through all of this, but hearing these things can also terrify someone that's from the outside. And we need to figure out how is it that what we promote and push is always amazing. All of the controversy, remember, around what song would resonate and the road march and all of this in Trinidad, as much as I prefer Carry It, because it's a piece of music that is lyrically amazing, that tells stories that we could all relate to about being different places, different time, doing these things. It may not have been the provinces that were discussed, the parishes discussed in Trinidad, but we could all relate to being somewhere at some time and being in different places and having an amazing experience. However, on a fundamental and very, very, very high vibration level, we work hard all week. We deserve a party. Resonates with every single human being.
Right.
So it's just knowing what to put out and how to put it there. Soca has always been happy, fun, amazing music, whether we are grooving or we're pumping at 1,000 miles an hour. And your first experience with that is going to be one of the most amazing experiences of your life. Finding that time again, from your first experience to your experience 15 years later, it's going to always be, hey, this was a close second, but the first time was the best. But see how you could always keep that second close. And that's the experience I aim to give every time I put on an event during Carnival.
I think too, it speaks to the responsibility that everybody has, right? As promoters, as providers of hospitality services, you know, we have a certain responsibility to our patrons, and we take that very seriously. On that same line, people participating in Carnival, yes, it's a time to be free, it's a time to let loose, it's a time to enjoy yourself, but party responsibly. Remember that you are a representative of not only yourself and your family, your culture, your country, because as somebody who has lived abroad, lived in different countries, traveled to many countries in my time here on Earth, I take that very seriously. I never want people to think through my actions that, all Guatemalans, people from Guatemala/Canada are like this. And I think people need to remember that. Have fun, be free, but also, be a representative of who you are and your values, and be respectful. And it all boils down to respecting people, because that story was crazy. I still cannot believe. I just can't believe she put it on the internet.
As I said before, had my child, Miss Baker's daughter, grandchild, gone on the internet and said something like that, and then dragged me into it about she is Bahamian, child, I would have get on the internet and drag her with everybody else. Because ain't no way you come up in my... Listen, I don't care how grown she is, I would have gone to her house and beat her with a wet leather belt. Are you dumb?
No, but I agree. And to Dahlia's point, like, don't put it on the internet. No, don't do it. Like, what?
Of course, don't
It's
do
fine.
it. But
If you shit up yourself, that's fine. Everybody done shit up themselves at some point. I don't know. You either pee up yourself or you shit up yourself. But the thing is that you thought, and I really feel like she thought it was funny to degrade herself. But it's fine. She could say she shit up herself, but she could have leave that extra part out about the graveyard.
But there are some stories that you never tell. They should go with you to your grave. The same kind of grave she defecated on. That's where that story should have gone. She should have not been telling that story to begin with. I don't get it. I try with, on understanding things, and with the world being how it is right now, where, the Caribbean is not known for being politically correct and accepting, and we have to try and make that adjustment because the world is now so much more global. But I don't understand. She is not from the Caribbean, so if anyone should have understood how the world works, it very well should have been her. But I also think it boils down to some people outright believe the rules don't apply to them. And in her mind, she was an influencer and she was famous, and what her famous memory is going to be, she is the girl that decided, I'm going to shit and then go back in the band. That's going to be her claim to fame for the remainder of her life. Because that video is going to resurface. The internet is forever.
And I am curious to find out if she has a 9 to 5, because I'm sure with the amount of publicity that came from that, she has gotten fired.
The only video that I have seen that was more viral than that is that whole obscenely ridiculous morning routine that's trending now, with up at 4 a.m. to wipe your face with banana. That's the only thing that I've seen trending more than that. And oddly enough, what I don't think people realize in this situation, your actions do have consequences. Had she been caught, she would have been in an episode of Locked Up Abroad.
Right.
Like these kind of things do happen. You don't want to go to jail in the Caribbean. We don't have luxury jail. Like, I don't know if you want to go to jail anywhere, but I think the Caribbean is significantly worse.
I could tell you, Rikers would be the Hilton in comparison.
I don't get it, and for me, as we discuss what is being inside the festival, what is the behavior, what is these things, oddly enough, the fete lineups here, the way that things are set, the way that everything happens here, that kind of issue for people who are looking to play mass with us for the first time. The route that we follow is the only other place that I have played mass that is along a beach is in Bermuda, and it's not along a beach for as long as we are. We are the entire route along the beach. Nowhere else in the world does that. And oddly enough, the rest stop, there are restrooms with running water, with food, with all of these things. So that will never be a challenge playing mass here. There are 2 larger bands that, from my understanding, I know last year, because I did play mass with the largest one, there is a full moving truck with proper restrooms, with running water and these things. So, that is not a conversation in the slightest, in any way, shape, or form. So to make anyone that's looking to play mass very comfortable. Hey, this is what we offer. This is what we do. I can't believe we are even having this conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to be had.
I agree. And on that same note, we'd like to hear a little bit about La Vie and tell us what makes it a premium all-inclusive. What can we expect from La Vie, from amenities to what's included to the kind of experience that anybody joining us for La Vie will have and can expect?
From you get into La Vie offers unlimited food, unlimited beverage, and unending vibes. There is going to always be surprise swag upon your arrival. There is going to always be branded items from our various liquor houses, from whomever sponsors us. There's always going to be things of that nature. And there are always 2 premium lounges. There's going to always be a Scotch lounge that is premium. That's usually the Johnny Walker lounge that offers crafted cocktails just for you. There's a cigar lounge as well where you can sit. We have limited amounts of free cigars that are given out every year. Thereafter, that is the only thing at the La Vie that you would ever have to purchase. The beverages flow straight throughout the night. There's also a cognac lounge where you can go in, have drinks, have cocktails there. And there's always Drunken Joy juice, which is our signature cocktail. It is between blue and green in color, and it is probably the best drink that you will ever have. It was crafted by yours truly. It is an amazing cocktail. You have dancers, you have everyone out. There's always a surprise performance. And the food. There is always food that's local fare. There's always sweets available. There's usually food from the rest of the Caribbean as well. That gives you an option there. We have Hennessy snow cones every year. So we heat you up and then we cool you down. There's option after option after option. And we just look forward to giving you an amazing experience every time.
Now, I have a question, because this is one of the things this is the problem that I have with a lot of all-inclusives. I don't drink, and I am, for the most part, vegetarian, right? Every place that I go that's all-inclusive is like everybody else gets the benefits of it, and I'm just there for the entertainment. And if the entertainment is subpar, then I'm just like, I just wasted a bunch of money, because there's always a bunch of ham and chicken and all these other things. They never have any fish or any vegan options. And if they do, they have it, they're like, oh, I can take this off of it. If you put corn on the grill, on a grill that had pork on it, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to have to take out my EpiPen. That is, I don't know how much it costs to go to the doctor in the Bahamas. But up until recently, every time I go to the doctor as a result of an allergic reaction, that's approximately $500.
This has been raised a couple of times, and there is always mocktail options if you don't drink. Like, I have done non-alcoholic mojitos. I can make an amazing tropical drink that's non-alcoholic if need be. I also, last year for the first time, I bought Heineken Zero, because if someone wanted a mojito or a margarita, because I would make a calicarita. So you take a calic, you make a margarita, and it goes in a quart container. And if I make it for you, I make it with a calic gold or a calic platinum. I'm going to get you to your destination very quickly if you drink, but I can make that for you in a non-alcoholic option. I think a lot of times vegans, people that are pescatarian, people that are vegetarian, a lot of times in a setting like this, they're kind of afraid to ask, but we have a chef that is on site. So if you do need something that is different, we can definitely facilitate that, because you did pay just like everyone else. And that thought process is a huge part of my thought process, because in the industry, I understand the concept of allergies, the concept of these things. Being from the industry, being a food and beverage professional, I get it. So if it's a case where, hey, I can only eat this, a lot of times what I do ask, because people with allergies, people with this tend to tell you what they cannot eat. Having done this for a while, I usually ask you, what do you want? And you tell me what you want, and I give it to you.
And Africa, as somebody who was vegan for a long time and attended La Vie, I can confirm that I had many options as far as food. I also, last year, one of my friends has a very severe peanut allergy, and having the chef on site where we were able to confirm which dishes were safe for her to consume, and having that point of contact was very, very helpful, because then we could have a safe experience, not having to worry, about cross-contamination. And we know the chef. I mean, I know the chef personally, but also professionally, he's very good.
These are things that guests need to know, because we always talk about the experience, right? And this is also a part of the experience, because I would love to be able to travel the world and taste different foods, right? But I can't. So if you have allergies, it's very hard for you to try to enjoy yourself in a setting where everything is included and you just watching everybody else enjoy the food.
Being in the industry, Africa, I understand yes and no, because, I had a guest a few weeks ago, gave me a list of everything that they were allergic to, and they asked me what I could offer them, and what I really wanted to offer them was a ride home. Because if you're allergic to everything, you should probably eat at home. So
And that's what I do.
so for me, I'm like, all right. And that's why my approach is what it is. If you know you're allergic to 800 things, I'm like, all right, what do you usually eat? I eat this, 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 this. All right, I'll have chef make that for you in his way. That it is going to be different from how you usually have it, but it won't have anything that's toxic to you in it, and we'll make sure you have a great dining experience. That's really more or less what it is. The option for things in a vegan style or a vegetarian style, or like for instance a non-pork option, a non-chicken option, in some instances it is a bit challenging, but a lot of things, that's why too you find many things now are deconstructed. You build your food yourself with more or less what you want.
Okay, I like that idea. Now you said that I can make. So does that mean that you are hands-on at La Vie?
I'm usually somewhere scrambling about. You're going to see me walking around. I'm very rarely partying. But what you find is, for instance, there have been years where we had a conch salad station. If you can't have conch, we don't put it in it. If you're trying to assemble, there was always, when we had patties, there was beef, chicken, and veggie, because the option was there. We have full fruit displays for someone that wants to eat fruit. There was always a full charcuterie board, and there are crackers, there are cheese, there are those things that you kind of more or less build yourself. Now, anything that is already put together and plated, we've had multiple lasagnas one year that you go and you take up yourself. We're going to always have chicken in the bag. That is a Bahamian staple. I cannot remove the chicken from chicken in the bag. So, but there's usually a fish option as well. I hope this is not politically incorrect. We usually have Wilbur, because we have him there spinning and roasting. So for people that want fresh roasted pork, we have it. So there is... Towards the end of the night, you're going to see chicken sauce come out. You're going to see other Bahamian soup dishes come out towards the end of the night. That is your final hurrah, and we usually set that up for you to take it to go with you. We look through more or less every aspect of this. I've seen so many fetes in the Bahamas do this. We don't run out of water.
You should be drinking water. Every 3 cups of liquor, you should drink at least 1 cup of water. Especially if you're trying to get up the next day to go to Carnival and be on the road.
But fete etiquette is also this. Pace is important. Pace is very important. Because at the end of the day, I remember I've seen people that midway through a fete took a nap in the middle of the fete. They were down for about 45 minutes, and then they got up, they found new energy. In a fete, I've seen it all. And at the end of the day, getting to an all-inclusive earlier is always to your benefit, because you get to enjoy everything that was there, everything you get to pick up, everything you get there. The experience will be same from start to finish. But, to Africa's point, there are less humans early on. You can get everything, get all of the good goodies, get all of everything that would have been while supplies last, you get it first.
And the bathroom will be 100% cleaner.
Well, you won't have that problem with us either. We have 4 dedicated bathroom attendants every year.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm just saying, in the middle of the party, that's when I stop consuming the liquid because I know what the bathroom be looking like.
Just what I think is having attended fetes just about everywhere has been to my benefit to know what a premium experience is and what you expect from a premium fete. One of the most amazing things when I remember being in Jamaica at the rest stop during Mass, because Jamaica has a special kind of sun. Their sun is different. There was an air-conditioned tent that you could go in to eat. In that same tent, they had makeup touch-up and costume repair. Only place I've seen that was in Jamaica.
Do you think that's feasible in the Bahamas?
I don't think so, first and foremost, because the cost of electricity in the Bahamas and needing to have the accessibility to that amount of portable air conditioning, I don't think that's a thing. Because I know of guests that are $1 million guests that have come to have events in the resorts I've worked at, and we've not been able to facilitate. And this is at mega level for mega people. It's always been outdoors, and we've been able to outfit fans and things along those lines, but I've never seen a giant air-conditioned tent in my entire career that spans 21 years. Is it impossible? Probably not. At our level right now, I don't think I could facilitate that.
Dante, speaking of this premium experience, because I know, again, having attended La Vie multiple times, and I see the improvement year after year, and every time I go, there's always a surprise. And every time I go, there's something I've missed, even though I arrive as soon as the doors open and I do not leave until you kick me out. I still miss things because there's so many things going on and so many opportunities for experiencing La Vie. Where can I buy tickets for La Vie?
Tickets for La Vie are on, you can buy from, the links are posted on bahamascarnivalguide.com. The links are also on carnivalconcierge.online. You can get the tickets from there. If you want to purchase directly from Eventbrite, it is lavie2025.eventbrite.com. So L as in Larry, A as in Alpha, V as in Victor, I as in India, E as in Echo, 2025.eventbrite.com.
Excellent. But let's talk about the price point for a second, because I think sometimes people get squirrely about the price point. And we talked about this a little bit earlier today, and you brought up how much all these all-inclusive premium events on other islands cost. What is the price point for La Vie in the Bahamas?
As of right now, before the Eventbrite fees, La Vie would be $95. And with the fees, it takes it to about $103, and that would be fully inclusive. And that is for literally everything you could possibly think of, from food and beverage. And also, there's always going to be commemorative items for you to take with you. So you're going to 9 times out of 10 leave with a bag, a shirt, a cup, something along those lines from any of our sponsors. And for the first 200, there is a La Vie branded cup. And this is why we encourage people to get in early, because for our first 200, there is always a La Vie branded cup. And I know someone like Dahlia has all from beginning to now, because we keep a shrine of cups from every carnival. So you have a whole set of them. So I know people who have the entire set. Someone has actually sent me a photo with their entire set. So they get there in time to get them. With the price point, I frame it as this. You have a full night out, inclusive of food, drink, and entertainment. And there is nowhere in Nassau you can get food, drink, and entertainment for $95. Nowhere right now. And I'm framing it the same way that Africa did, because you can literally at La Vie eat 3 or 4 times and drink 10 or 11 drinks while being entertained by 5 or 6 DJs and a surprise performer. And this is year over year every time. It is the best $95 that you will spend in Nassau.
So you can party under $100. You can party under $100 and drink, versus going to the club and buying a bottle, being hungry, and still not getting the same amount of entertainment that you would get at La Vie.
And this is for the better part of 5 to 6 hours.
Again, I'm sold.
We offer you an opportunity to be outside in a safe, value for money, amazing setting. And I mean, listen, I want to see everybody outside having a great time. The photo opportunities are also great. You know, everyone does things now for the gram. We always have a 360 booth. This year I'm going to introduce a decorative wall that's a selfie station so that you can get your photos there. It gives you an opportunity to just make memories, you know, with your family, whether you're by yourself, whether you're with a party of 10, whatever it is, make amazing memories. Follow me to La Vie.
And I really think that's the theme of Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, right? It's the memories, the friendships that you will inevitably end up with, and people who you will have in your life for years to come, because that, like you said, Dante, are some of our best friends and relationships. And I've spoken about this in the past, have come from these amazing carnival experiences. And I'm a huge advocate for Carnival in the Bahamas. Price point, accessibility, access to accommodations, it's all there. The whole package is there with playing mass or attending Carnival in the Bahamas. So,
and oddly enough, there are direct flights to Nassau from the entire eastern seaboard, from Miami up as far as Toronto. We now even have direct flights to Nassau from the West Coast. You can get to Nassau directly from Seattle or LA. So depending on where you are right now, wherever you are in the US, you can get to Nassau in one stop. And same for Canada. You can be in Nassau in one stop. You can fly from, in the beginning of our conversation, Dahlia said it was a whopping 30 degrees in Canada. In 2 hours and 57 minutes from Toronto Pearson into Nassau International, you will fly into 82 degrees. So you have sun, sand, and sea from frigid in less than 3 hours. I'm gonna need some people to join me for Mass in Paradise.
And I always joke about I'm convinced, but I am convinced. I was convinced, and from the first time I landed in the Bahamas in 2006, you can't keep me away now. And it's the easiest flight that I can take out of Toronto.
The easiest flight that you can take out of Toronto, out of the West Coast, the Eastern Seaboard, Mass in Paradise, Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, June 4th through 10th in Nassau, Bahamas. Go ahead and purchase your tickets. We are a little shy of 8 weeks away, so that means that you need to make sure that your costumes have been paid for, or at least you've paid down your deposit. You've ordered it so that they can build them, because these are handcrafted. You need to make sure that you purchase your tickets now while we're at tier 2 pricing, because they will go up on the 31st of May in time for the week of Carnival. All right. This is the cheapest that these tickets will be right now. Additionally, remember your fete etiquette. Remember your fete etiquette. Remember that you are representing you're representing your culture, you're representing your family, you're representing your city. All right? So let's not lose ourselves. Yes, we have no behavior in the fete, but we also have behavior in the fete, right? What are 3 items that should be in your purse or your bag or pockets for Carnival? Dahlia and then Dante.
For me, I always have a portable charger, because I drive in the Bahamas and I need my GPS. So that's number 1. Number 2, some sort of wipe, whether it's, hand wipes, hand sanitizer, or for personal hygiene. Again, it's sweaty, it's hot, and nobody needs to be smelling bad at a fete. And number 2, Dante will know this, my red lipstick is always in my purse for touch-ups. One thing Dante didn't speak about, there is a makeup touch-up station at La Vie That's also an excellent
Wow.
addition to the amenities that you can find at La Vie Premium All Inclusive. But those are my 3 must-haves. Maybe a little something to spray on to smell good as well.
For anyone coming in as well, my thought process is always, I think you should walk with sunscreen, because the Bahamas does also have a special kind of sun. And oddly enough, last year on the day of Mass, it was the hottest day ever recorded in the Bahamas. So walk with sunscreen and remember to reapply. Another thing I also encourage, if you are in the Bahamas, walk with cash. I say that because there are going to be places where you go where things are very reasonably priced, but a lot of places are cash only. So try your best to have some cash, some form of payment to that effect. You know, we're not at the point of Cash App as yet. So, you know, you walk with some cash. Cash is still king. And what I would also say you should always have is some form of communication, being your cell phone, being anything along those lines. And up now at the airport, there are BTC and Alive stations where you can purchase SIM cards that are designed now for tourists. This is something that was rolled out within the last 2 weeks, where they give you an unlimited supply of data across 3 days, and it's something like $20. So and you're able to top it up if you'd like. So that option where you're able to have a phone to make calls, to keep in touch with your loved ones and get where it is that you need to go.
That is awesome. Wow, I'm definitely taking advantage of that. For me, make sure you have your pills. Okay. If you have any allergies or you have any health problems or issues, make sure that you have your pills with you in a pill box. I've always had a thing with heat, so I always carry a towel. With the fan fad going on, I got me a customized fan. Yeah, make sure you have your pills. Make sure you have something to keep yourself dry. Just cool yourself off. So those are the 3 things that I think that you need to have. If you are in the Bahamas, like you said, sunscreen is important. Having communication. The other thing was cash. Cash is king, yes. My friends found that out very hard last year. Dahlia said her red lipstick is one of the things that she must have in her bag. Wipes and also her charger, portable charger. So that's like 9 things, Trey. But when you think about it, these are all things that you need to have because you're probably going to be out all day. You know what I mean? So you want to be able to have things that are going to keep you comfortable, or at least people be able to communicate with you, and you don't smell frowsy inside the crowd. This has been Inside the Festival, another edition brought to you by Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend. Dahlia, go ahead and take us out.
Thanks for joining us, Dante. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Africa, as always, it's been a pleasure. Catch us on Inside the Festival as we lead up to the Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, June 4th to 10th, 2025. Hope to see you all there.
Get ready for the ultimate experience of a lifetime at the Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend, happening June 4th to the 10th. 6 days of pure, non-stop euphoria, where you'll dance, laugh, and create unforgettable memories with your carnival family. Kick off the weekend with a link-up at Flamingo's Bar and Lounge. Thursday, June 5th, join the Duddy crew for a wild ride. Friday, June 6th, we're starting bright and early at 10 a.m. with the B-Team DJs Just the Line Breakfast Kickback. Then, it's off to La Vie for the premium, all-inclusive day party. Later that night, hop aboard the Hello Moving Cooler Fete. June 7th, after the road, we keeping the party alive with After Mass. Sunday morning, get ready for waves. Wind down the weekend on Sunday evening at Last Wine. And on Monday, dive into H2O Monday. What you waiting for? This is your chance to be a part of Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend. 6 days of non-stop euphoria. Visit carnivalconcierge.online or bahamascarnivalguide.com for all the details, tickets, and info you need. Let's make memories that'll last a lifetime. Sponsored in part by the Print Shop and Bahamas Carnival Fete Weekend.